Everyone.
Hi, Dennis.
So I just wanted to introduce a land acknowledgement that's about to start to kick us off. So welcome esteemed guests to the Zero Waste Forum. He'll tell us a little bit more, but from what I understand from the native land CA website, these are the original lands of like Rhino, Seminole, Miccosukee, and indigenous peoples, I think, but we'll have Garrett introduce. So even if you've had family here for generations, this is still sovereign indigenous territory. We want to acknowledge that with honesty and fortitude, especially for non-Black and non-Indigenous peoples, which is in contrast to genocidal histories around Spanish colonization for the United States. So I'd like to introduce Garrett, and who is generously here to.
Thank you, Esteemed. How's everybody doing today? My name is Garrett, but a lot more people know me as Captain Planet, like the old cartoon. That's kind of what got me into the whole sustainability, zero waste mindset, as well as the way that I just grew up. A lot of people in Florida think that I'm Miccosukee or Seminole, but I was adopted by the Panther clan of the Miccosukee and Seminole. I'm actually Lakota and Shawnee, as well as mostly Scottish, as you can tell. But I grew up very traditional. I was very lucky to be able to grow up tradition. And when you get to grow up like that, there's a certain kind of mindset that comes, a certain kind of understanding. I'll never forget the first time that my grandpa ever yelled at me. Probably about the only time he ever yelled. I was little. I was probably about a fifth or sixth grader, and there was something else that I wanted to do. Me and Grandpa were going out and picking sage, but there was something else that I wanted to do, like go play with some friends or something like that. So I was in a hurry, and I started grabbing the sage up out of it, and he yelled at me. Said, "You never ever pick the first or the second, third, or fourth, fifth, or the sixth, seventh piece of sage. You find the eighth plant, and then you can pick that. And then you skip three, and then you can pick one, and then skip three and pick one." And I asked him why, and he looked at me like I was stupid. He said, "What else could we possibly do to ensure that the next 7 generations of Lakota people have sage as a medicine if we don't feed them?" And I said, "Well, why do you skip three after that?" He said, "Well, that's for the homies. That's for the animals. That's what I call the homies, the plants and the animals. Like the deer, the rabbit, other things need that too. So we need not be selfish. And sometimes when Roman mentality finds us, all of us are from the earth. All of us at one point, no matter what color of your skin, were a tribal people. It's kind of a matter when Rome found. The Romans found Europe a long time ago, as far as took out those tribes of Germany and France and different places. Tribes of Africa, Australia, Asia, India, all over the world. We're all tribal people. And I think that we forget that. Like if we go back far enough into our histories before Rome, you're going to find some tribal background, whether it's your Scottish Highlander side or your Lakota side kind of thing. So we need to always remember that. But with that Roman takeover came a lot of kind of Roman mentalities, speak of sage. And nowadays you see sage being sold at Walmart. It's become Romanized. And sadly, that species of sage that everybody wants to burn now, is an endangered plant. White mountain sage, California. It's endangered because we want to sell it at Walmart, because we lost that whole mindset of always saving 7 something. Before any time I go out and take a plant, I always have to find 7 of that plant before I'm allowed to take one for myself. And even then, you have a conversation with that. You get yourself connected. Me personally, I might choose to fast. So I'm extra humble when I ask for help from that. But that connection to nature makes you to where you can't really treat it that bad as far as without feeling. It's the same thing as stealing. Wasting is the same thing as stealing in the eyes of nature. So we don't need to go out and have that kind of robbing mentality as much as we can have. And that's what I love about organizations like this. Is it's people thinking about the next 7 generations, even if they don't really necessarily say it in those words. These little land acknowledgements, what I'm doing here. I've never done a land acknowledgement. I'm not going to lie, I had to Google what a land acknowledgement was. But I was, reading, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. Like at these different events of some nonprofits and institutions, museums, higher education, at their events, they're wanting to choose to acknowledge the people whose land that they're on. I think that that's pretty cool. I'm not from these lands. I'm from the Great Plains, like or Missouri here. I'm from Kansas, so But when I came here as a biologist, I'm always trying to find the people that have been somewhere the longest. When I go somewhere to study. If I'm going someplace new, the people that have had the longest history there are the people that can tell me the most. I can walk up to a river and be like, "Oh, this is great." I don't know what kind of fish used to swim in the river, what kind of plants used to be in that river. But by getting together with the people that have been there the longest, I can start getting an understanding. When I went down to study the Everglades, the people that have been there the longest happen to be the Miccosukee and Seminole. Me growing up traditional too, it's not a custom of ours to go into another nation's land without asking for permission, oral permission. It's that land acknowledgement. I just didn't really know what you guys call it. Religion calls it spirit, science calls it energy, streets call it vibe. It's all the same thing, really. It's kind of a matter of what angle you're sitting at that table. Sometimes the whole table is part of it. But if it's all right with you guys, I'd like to. Na Panther Uyat na Yahako Yate na Wamakashka Wolo Koto Ushia Lampo Makaki Eshlet Tahanya here. Wopula Tanka ina Sino Oyate ina Miccosukee. Yes. What I was acknowledging was those 4 directions and what comes with it. For my people, the West, that's the nation of thunder. Where visions come from. The North, the buffalo, strength comes from. The East is the spotted eagle and the elk, where truth comes from. And the South is Wamakashka, the nation of energy that flows between every single person in this room, to every blade of grass out there, to every star. That connection, science calls it quantum physics. We call it, God created. This depends on what side of the table you sit at. Respect is always everything. But I appreciate you guys caring about this earth, because it's something very, very dear to my heart. And I think it should be something dear to all of our hearts. We have a saying that we cannot inherit this earth from our parents. We borrow it from our children. And if more of us don't start having a mentality, it could be detrimental. I heard a story once from South America. It was talking about the first human, first man, and said that the first man was put on the earth and didn't have the qualities that we do today. Real weak, real sick. It said that all the animals gathered. The homies come and said, "Hey, what's wrong? How can we help you?"
And the man says that I want to be able to see far so that I know where I want to build my house. And the vulture said, you'll see far like and gave him that gift. And the man said, I want to be strong, so I can protect my family and make me. The jaguar said, be strong like me and get this gift. The man said, I want to know all the secrets of the earth. And the snakes looked. God showed them. So it went on like this with all the homes. And once the man had all the gifts, he left. Deer was stoked for the man. And the deer said, now that the human has everything he needs, a good one. But the owl said, no. I see a hole in that man. A hole that keeps me take. Till one day the earth says, I have nothing left to give you. Getting close to that time, and that's why we're sitting in this room. So we can make sense of it. And maybe change our path. It's like being a horse with the blinders. Might want to take them blinders off, run off the split. My people, we've understood that for a while, but not just because we're just all up and mighty and so godly that we never make mistakes. It happened here. They say that we treated the earth wrong. We treated the land wrong. Overhunted, we overfished. We did things wrong. And the homies went away. All the deer and elk and buffalo that vanished. And all the fish in the rivers, they died and came up. Everything got sick. It was a time of famine. Real sick time. And they say that there was 2 Lakota scouts, like hunting scouts, going to look for meat. And they were going and come upon this beautiful woman in white buckskin. And one of the guys, he had some devious thoughts. And they say a little tornado come down. And like a cloud came over him like a fog. And it lifted up and he was nothing but a skeleton. The other man, he kept his head down. He knew something that beautiful and that clean in that time of famine, had to be the spirit. And she told them to go tell the people to gather. And that next morning, she was going to come down and give them something. And she said, here, you take it now. And I'll come down and I'll explain it. And so he took this bundle down to the people. Didn't have meat yet, it was some bad time. But he took this bundle to the people, and they made a big council teepee. Big teepee, the size of this room where everybody can fit. And that next morning, there she come up on the hill. And she started dancing. She turns. She turned into a white buffalo. And she danced again and she turned. She turned into a black buffalo. And she danced again and she turned. She danced again and she turned into a red buffalo. One more time, turned back into a white buffalo. Some people might have heard of the white buffalo calf. Like the white buffalo calf name. This is who I'm speaking of. And she come down to the people and she turned into a beautiful woman, the woman that those 2 gentlemen had saw. And she opens up that bundle. And inside that bundle, she said, this is your chanupa. This is your sacred pipe. This is how you walk with the earth. She said there's a way to walk with the earth and a way to walk against the earth. You guys have been walking against the earth and taking too much. You walk with the earth more than. So that's when they got these ceremonies. And we had some ceremonies like the sun dance and the hamblecha, Now comes the Sundance or the Vision Quest. Now comes the sweat lodge ceremonies. Different ceremonies that come with that pipe that led with walking with the earth and making sure we're not living against it. And I wanted to share that with you guys because, we're living it. That white buffalo calf woman, she said that she'll come back one day. 12 generations, she'll come back. And my grandpa, he said, every year there's a white buffalo being born. And every year people get their hopes up because they think she's coming back. But how the buffalo, that white buffalo has to be born out of the Yellowstone herd, because that's the only original bloodline left. And I was born this year, so Earth's ready. I see people in this room ready. It makes me stoked. So thank you guys for doing this. Really appreciate you guys.